So over the past 24 hours or so, Manchester United have been linked with a young central midfielder going by the name of Ardon Jashari, and Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that there are English clubs interested in his signature. And that's really quite interesting to me because this is a player that I like. He first caught my eye 2 years ago playing at Euro U21 in 2023, where he played for Switzerland and was really impressive in the midfield. He had a really good performance against a France side that consisted of the likes of Ketron Turan, Manu Kone, Maxence Kakare, Cherki. There were some really good players in there. And also against Italy, who actually had Tonali in their midfield at the time. So today I thought I would bring you what I already know about Jashari. Now, not only have I seen Jashari playing for the Swiss under-21 team, but I have also seen him playing in the Champions League this season, where he's probably had his sort of a blow-up campaign, that campaign where people seem to notice him a little bit more. Before we get into Jashari and what he's all about, if you could please quickly subscribe to the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. We're trying to hit 60,000 before the start of pre-season. The support recently has been amazing, so could you please help out? And then we'll talk about Jashari. And the big thing we are talking about here is a left-footed passy boy. So a left-footed player who wants to play midfield and complete a lot of passes, and that is right up my street for what I like in a footballer, which is why he caught my attention 2 years ago, long before links to Manchester United, before I even actually knew about him. He just happened to catch my eye with his performances. Now, in terms of what you get with Jashari, like I said, it's quick 1-2 touch football. He wants to move the ball quickly, he wants to play pass and move to keep the rhythm of the game flowing. In terms of in the first phase, in deep positions, he's not necessarily a press resistant player, but he is a player who can handle pressure. So like we've said a few times recently about some different players, he's not necessarily a player to receive the ball, drop the shoulder and play on the turn regularly, although I think he's got the potential to do it. But actually what he's going to do more regularly is use bounce passes in these situations. He likes to play two-touch football, so he will receive the ball, then look to play the ball off to someone else. He will receive the ball, look to play the ball off to someone else. So not necessarily a press beater, but definitely someone that is comfortable in the press. However, what he prefers to do, rather than just receiving the ball in these positions with his back to goal, what he prefers to do is actually drop into a deeper position, often dropping all the way into the back line. So for example, in a back three, that might mean that one of the centre-backs moves a little bit wider. Jashari loves to get himself in these positions here where he can move away from the opposition midfielders because they don't want to follow him that far because then they're out of position. So Jashari gets a little bit of time on the ball, he's able to get his head up, and then from there, his passing range is just absolutely ridiculous. Now a little bit further up the pitch in the middle phase, Jashari has two main ways that he likes to play. One thing he likes to do is again to drop into deeper positions, so again dropping into the back three, getting his head up and looking to play with time on the ball. From these positions, his long passing in particular is an absolute joke. Very good when he's got time on the ball finding a forward pass. However, the big question for a player like this is, if you want time on the ball, how do you find it? And the way that Jashari does that is by sometimes staying higher and scanning, looking for space, and then moving into that space. So for example, you might see his deeper centre-back on the ball, and initially he appears marked because he's in the sort of pressing shadow of the opposition defender. But what he's going to do is have his head on a swivel, taking in information and noticing space, but importantly also actually moving into the space. And as he moves into the space, what he will do is continue to scan as he moves. And that means that when he receives the ball, he sort of already knows his next move. So he's arrived into space, he knows he's got time, and that's when he can then get his head up and look to play forward. And again, his progressive passing numbers have been very, very impressive over the past 365 days. It's actually quite extraordinary when you look at the numbers. And we've got a really nice clip of him doing exactly this here. Now this was against France. This is that game that I'm talking about 2 years ago in the under-21 tournament. And you can see Jashari in his position here and his teammate with the ball a little bit lower down the bottom. And the problem here really is initially he can't receive the ball in midfield because there are two French players near him. Interestingly, Cherki, who's just gone to Manchester City. But Jashari can't receive the ball in this position because he is blocked. But unlike some players who have been at the club in the past, Jashari is someone who won't just stand there. He won't just be stuck, unable to get on the ball. He wants to move. He wants to make himself available. He will scan and look for space and then move into that space. But like I said, as he is moving, he will continue to scan, and that's really important. The first scan allows him to find the space. The second scan means that once he gets the ball, because he knows he's going to receive the ball at this point, the second scan means once he's got the ball, he knows what he can do next. And on this occasion, he takes a good first touch, he opens up his body, knowing that he's got time, and then plays a ridiculously good through ball through the heart of the French midfield, taking out all of these players. Now again, Jashari's passing is something that I can't really talk about enough. I think he's absolutely phenomenal with his weight of pass, his disguise. He can use the outside of the boot. Sometimes he's going to flick it around the corner first time. Sometimes it might be a back heel, a sort of flary pass as well. His passing game is really strong. I only really have one criticism, and that is that he is incredibly one-footed. Not just with his passing, but also with his control of the ball. You can see it in a clip here. He's really making sure that every touch is coming with the left foot. I would like to see a player that uses both feet a little bit more because it makes you a little less predictable, right? I think particularly in the middle phase, there are situations, or it's not even situations, it happens all the time. Every time he receives the ball in these positions, he nearly always takes his first touch out towards the left-hand side. Now, to a large extent that works, right? Because he's got a good low centre of gravity, he gets under the opposition, so when they put him under pressure, he's actually relatively strong and he's able to look after the ball and protect the ball. And then he has the quick passing range. He can quickly snap a pass forward. So it's still difficult to stop him. But I do just feel that, you know, if he was to move to the Premier League, I think he would need to adapt. I think he would need to add an extra string or two to his bow to take his passing game to the next level. When he's got time, it's amazing. But being predictable is never a good thing. So that's probably something that he just needs to add. The ability to sometimes go the other way. To be fair, his short passing isn't too bad with the right foot, but I think particularly the sort of medium and longer range passing on the weak foot needs a lot of work. Now, if we want to get ourselves back to the positives, we can talk about Jashari's ball carrying. Now, yes, right at the start of the video, I described him as a passy boy, a player who wants to move the ball on quickly with 1 and 2 touch passing to move the ball forward. However, he can also take responsibility himself. He isn't necessarily a true deep-lying 6, he's more of a double pivot player because he wants to be able to get forward. And I actually think his mobility, his acceleration is quite impressive, and whilst he isn't the strongest player in the world, I think on the ball he uses his body really well. I think he bends the legs well, which sort of act as like shock absorbers as the opposition come in. He can sort of get himself low and ready for the contact, and that allows him to protect the ball. But also he does have the engine, he does have the drive to spin out into these wide left positions and sort of gallop forward and push himself into the final third. And he almost kind of starts running, he gets into this position here, and if the passing option isn't on, then he's just going to keep going. And we've seen this against two really interesting players in the Champions League. Now, if you guys have seen him, this is probably where you've seen him. You may have seen these clips before because they're sort of going around on Twitter at the moment. Interestingly, on this occasion, there's a loose ball in the middle of midfield, which Jashari picks up. But the player that he's up against is actually Ederson of Atalanta. Now, this is a player that United have been linked with as a sort of energetic, powerful, strong, pressing, dominant, ball-winning midfielder, right? Jashari here, though, considering Jashari's game is more about the technical side of the game, he just does him completely. First of all, it's a really good touch with the chest to bring the ball down. Second touch with the foot, kills it. Beautiful control. Brings the ball down, gets it onto his foot. It's a great sign if a player can control the ball with multiple parts of the body. But what he does next is he just commits to a forward run. He decides to go on a little bit of a gallop, and like I said, his strength on this occasion to hold off the tackle and then the acceleration to pull away is actually really good. And then he gets his head up, sees there's more space, so just sort of keeps going into the final third. He can't be stopped. Ederson tries to bring him down but can't. Jashari changes direction at the last second, and from a 50-50 ball in midfield, he's got himself all the way into the penalty area up against Ederson. He also done something quite similar against Aston Villa once again in the Champions League. You can see him receiving the ball in a deep position here. He takes the first touch towards the left, as is a little bit predictable. He likes to do this a lot. Tielemans tries to follow him, but he can't. He doesn't really get particularly close. Jashari just pulls away from him quite effortlessly. Tielemans continues to hunt, as does Kamara, a really good ball-winning Premier League midfielder. You know, this is someone physical, strong, good in the tackle. And once again, Jashari just sort of races away from him. He's too quick for him, but also he deals with the upper body contact. Kamara has a little pull here, and then here, he basically just shoves him in the back. But watch what happens. He pushes him over, or what I should say is he tries to push him over here, and Jashari just shrugs him off like it's nothing. Now, the final ball was terrible, but I like the way he protects it. So yeah, on the ball, Jashari is a really good player. He's a good passer, he can play under pressure, he can carry the ball forward, he's got drive, good mobility. I would just like it if he was a little bit more two-footed, but he's only 22, so he could add that to his game. How about defensively? Because that is something we need to talk about if we are thinking about a Manchester United midfielder. And You know, again, initially I would say he is mobile, he's quite aggressive, he can get about the pitch, he's sort of a feisty little player who likes to use his feistiness and his energy to delay the opposition as opposed to tackling them. He's not someone who goes crashing into tackles, but it'll sort of like just chase the opposition and force them to slow down. Particularly in wide areas, I think he's quite a good defender. You know, if he can force the opposition over to a wide position like this and sort of use the touchline as an extra defender, I think he's pretty good. The problem is more in the middle of the pitch when you are breaking up a transition and he's got a large space to cover. Suddenly not so good, because sometimes he can be aggressive, jump forward for kind of find himself flat-footed and then just get beaten a little bit too easily on the dribble. And the other concern is in terms of when he's defending a little bit deeper around his own penalty area. He doesn't really have the strength and the size or the long legs to sort of control the opposition in these situations here. He's never quite able to get hold of the ball. So there are concerns. I think he would be a great midfielder up against someone big and strong. So if you sort of have a dominant ball winner next to him, I think he could be amazing. Next to someone more like Bruno Fernandes, I would be a little bit concerned, and I think it would take a little bit of time to get it to work. But that's not to say that it couldn't work, because he is a good player, he is mobile, and on the ball he is phenomenal. He's a great player to watch on the ball. Again, I love a left-footed midfielder who likes to pass but also dribble. That's right up my street. I like him a lot. I think sort of if I was his advisor, I would suggest more of a stepping stone club in between. You know, go somewhere for a couple of years and then 2 or 3 years get your big move to a big club is probably what I would suggest. But if Manchester United were to go in for him now, I wouldn't be complaining, because he's a good footballer and it never hurts to have good footballers at your club, despite the fact that there is that question over tactical fit. Is he a Bruno partner or is he a Bruno backup? But what does that mean for Kobe Mainoo? That is just the only question mark. His actual quality is really good. I like the player a lot. But for now, we just have to wait and see. I don't actually think this one will quite materialise into a move personally, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think this move can happen? And based on today's video, do you think this move should happen? Is he the sort of player that we need? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.